Hello everybody, and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. Well, I'm going to put it out there now that this is my first ever video, so if I screw up, I'm sorry, but that's life, unfortunately. My name's John. I am a massive West Ham fan, as you can possibly see from the shirt, which I will go into in a little while. I originally wanted to do this video to put a few points out there on what I'm feeling in terms of life, football, the world, you name it. As I say, it was meant to be originally a few. It's turned out to be quite a lot, as I'm sure when everybody does their videos for the first time, when they want to talk about general subjects like I like to do, I'm sure that was the same for everybody. So I just want to start off, as I say, I've been watching YouTube for quite a while now. Probably, where are we, almost a year. I've been watching videos from various groups, and I just want to say thank you to everybody that I've been watching. I'm sure you can't see who I've been watching, but I want to put on record now that I'd like to say thank you very much for West Ham Fan TV, Bull Street in general. I absolutely love watching Bull Street. It's fantastic. I don't see anybody really giving you guys the appreciation that you really get, or should get, I should say. I know you guys get some of it when you interview people, but again, as I say, I just want to say thank you very much for the hard work that everybody at Bull Street and West Ham Fan TV are doing. Also, the True Geordie, who inspired me to do this. As he pointed out when he first started, he was using a camera and an ironing board. I'm using a camera on a very, very high table. So, but I love watching the True Geordie. Him and Lawrence are fantastic. Again, so thank you guys for the hard work you put in over the last few years to do that, to entertain us all. I also want to send thanks out to Redmen TV. Now, as a West Ham supporter, I watched it as a total neutral. I love watching Redmen. Very, very cool people. Very, very funny guys as well. I love the spin-off, I think it is, Mark's show. That's brilliant. Really enjoy it. So anyway, so that's my appreciation for these guys, because as I say, at the end of the day, it's these are the guys that have inspired me to do this video. So I just want to do a bit of an introduction. As I say, I'm a West Ham fan. The West Ham is huge in one part of the family. I'm descended from, it is descension. I am descended from 4 generations, I should say. I'm the 4th generation West Ham supporter of the family, more specifically the Mickelwright side of the family. In actual fact, as luck would have it, on this day here, when Trevor Brooking beat Arsenal in the FA Cup final in 1980, was my birthday. I was born on that day, a few hours later. So one could say, but I'm sure more than one would say it, that I was preordained to be a supporter, because that's how life works out. Born into a West Ham family, and born on the day that we won the FA Cup. More specifically, I should say, the last time we won the FA Cup. So obviously it was 64, 75, and then the day I was born. Now that date, the 10th of May 1980, is very influential for West Ham on another state as well, which I will go into at a later point. Now, but as I say, that's how I feel. That's me. That's West Ham. That's part of me. I'm obviously more than just a West Ham supporter like everybody else is. I've got a job. I work up in the city. Sorry, I just need to hold the camera there. I work up in the city. I've got a lovely girlfriend as well, who isn't into football, but her dad is. He's a Spurs supporter. But my girlfriend is getting into football because she's now got 2 blokes in her life that are football fans. She's acknowledged she's better than it was when I first knew her. Why she said to her dad I was a Chelsea supporter was, yeah. Anyway, so first thing I wanted to talk about is the very, very sad news. I'm sure everybody else has been talking about this as well. The very, very sad news of the young Bradley Lowry. Now, he was a supporter. If anybody doesn't know who he is, you've had your head under the rock the last couple of seasons. But he was an absolute champion. This was a kid who was diagnosed with a very, very rare case of cancer when he was 18 months old, I believe, six or 18 months old. He died yesterday. So that's the 7th of July, which for a lot of Londoners has a big significance as well, because obviously the 7th of July bombings 12 years ago. Now, as I say, this kid was the most beautiful little boy you could ever see in a football shirt. He was the heart and soul of everything that us true football supporters, not just West Ham supporters, not Liverpool supporters, not just Sunderland supporters, because that's obviously who he was supported, who is the other side of my family. So Sunderland is my second team, albeit people don't like to hear that. He embodied everything that is great about being a British person. To be fair, about no matter what is happening going on in your life, you still fight. You still live your life. That's what we all want to do, and that's one of the many things that Bradley will be remembered for. It was absolutely. I was genuinely heartbroken when I saw the news yesterday at lunchtime that he had died. We obviously know, for everyone on Twitter, etc., everybody knows that he was in a bad way for quite a while. But he still was energetic. Some could say that he lived a lifetime's worth of energy in that short space of time that he had. Because you would see him, he was always smiling, always happy. It's a great way to be. And to be honest, a lot of people should be more like that. Which again, I'll go into another point. But as I say, for him and his family, my condolences are out there. The rest of them, obviously, the Sunderland side of the family up in Durham, I'm sure they're all just hurting just as much. We've had deaths in the family recently, or relatively recently. So, we know what it's like to lose somebody, as everybody else does. Everyone else has suffered loss in their life, albeit a grandparent, an auntie, a sister, daughter, whatever. Everybody's lost a life in some way. And, where everybody knows how difficult it is when you lose somebody in your life that you absolutely love and cherish to bits, especially someone like Bradley. Lovely boy. Never got to meet him, but everybody knows what a good, lovely little boy he was. And, for Jermaine Defoe to get involved with that kid the way that he did, and then for them to be genuinely good friends, shows a lot about his character, which has been questioned over the last few years by our supporters. But yeah, footballing aside, there's no taking all that politics out of the window. It is a horrible story. One we're seeing too often, unfortunately, as us West Ham supporters know. Obviously the late great Bobby Moore, obviously a lot older than that, dying of bowel cancer. John Joe Human as well, for that man. Apologies if I was pronounced his surname incorrectly. Obviously everything he was doing for his nan and still is. It's crazy to see that I've seen that boy around for the last 7 or 8 years, and he's a man now. It's very, it's weird to see how time has flown for everything that he's been doing. I remember hearing his voice when he was doing a few presentations, and this little squeaky, little nervous little kid, to this really deep voice boy now. He's a man, in more ways than one. But as I say, so moving on from that, but as I say, I just wanted to put that out there, that I feel very, very deeply about Bradley's death. Okay, so being a West Ham supporter, it's been as we all know, for literally the 37 years since we won the cup. We've had all sorts, like every other club has. We've had all sorts. But what I want to say first and foremost is all of the criticism that the Davids have got since coming into the club around about the time that I started becoming a season ticket holder. I've been going to the ground on a regular basis, very, very late on in my life. I would put that out now. due to a lot of family reasons more than anything else. But as I say, fourth generation family brought up in Barking. I wasn't personally. I like to think that I am part of the Barking family, but I wasn't brought up there. But as I say, it was only in the last 10 to 12 years that I've been regularly going. And more specifically now the last 8 years, close to 8 years now, that I've been a season ticket holder. So it's around about the same sort of time that the two Davids put in their majority stake and became sole owners of the club. Now, you remember these times, the 2009-2010 season. That's when they started getting further and further into the transactions. Obviously, nothing really happened until a year or so later, but you know, our manager was, especially at that point, you know, it was Zola. And I mean, my first West Ham home game was Huddersfield Town in the Cup in 2008, if I remember right. Horrible game. Went to penalties, which we eventually won, but awful. But I loved the atmosphere. I'd been to a Premier League game beforehand with my family up in Sunderland. We went to see the relegation fight that Sunderland Bolton did that season. That game just before the Christmas before Anelka went to Bolton, went from Bolton to Chelsea. Both of those two games together, I absolutely loved the atmosphere. Brilliant, great fun. Great songs. West Ham's fan was just another level. Yes, all right, it was a cup game. It was like 15 quid for a ticket, but there was a lot, you know, there's a lot of what people like to call plastics. I was a plastic at that point. I'm not going to deny it. I was. So you know, it was a great game for good portions of it, but nothing's changed in those 9 years. You know, but the funny thing was that we all had aspirations that we were going to go through to the League Cup, and of course it didn't happen. But anyway, as I say, I've been a season ticket holder since my old man passed away in Christmas 2009. He died in New Year's Day 2010, which obviously was when the Davids took over fully, and we had Gianfranco Zola at that point, and obviously the two Davids took over the season after, where they actually got rid of him and brought in Avram Grant. Now we all know what happened there. I don't want to go into that, but what I will say is that yes, it was, as everybody agrees, it was a planned relegation. Now this video isn't all to be about West Ham, but this is something very close to my heart and will be dominating the majority of this video. It's a club very, very close to my heart. And yes, I agree with everybody when they say that it was a planned relegation. You can't get around that in any way. So, but we had players that just didn't care. I know a lot of people saying about the current season, people don't care, but that squad we had was just ridiculous. You know, we had the only people that in my opinion, that the only people that really cared at that point was Scott Parker, Mark Noble, Carlton Cole, Rob Green, Winston Reid, who was obviously, that was his debut season, but you could see he cared. He wasn't very good, as we all know, but he was trying his best, bless him. James Collins as well, and Jack Collinson. Now, obviously, the majority of those are from players that have come through the ranks and have been with the club for a few years, bar really Winston Reid and technically Barker, because he wasn't here for that long in comparison to the rest of them. But you know, they were good. They were a good squad. We had a good team. We had a good core number of players that cared. The only problem was the core wasn't big enough, and it melted down, and we got relegated. Very, very spectacularly, I may add. Some may say quite stylishly, by getting beaten 5-0 by Sunderland on the last day of the season, which is ridiculous. I mean, as I said earlier, the game was was like a London derby, you know, so it was like a family derby, because it was one side of the family versus the other from my point of view. And to see Sunderland play that well, it broke my heart as a West Ham supporter. It was a very difficult game. All Sunderland West Ham games have been difficult for me, and West Ham Sunderland games equally. But anyway, as I say, we got relegated. We got rid of Grant, who should have never been there in the first place. It all started with where we are now. It all started then, in terms of the fans' attitudes now, because as it was publicly made before the deal was done, Karen Brady went to the press and said that we were in talks with bringing in Martin O'Neill as a replacement for Gianfranco Zola. Big mistake. Big mistake. It was evidence right there that this lot like to shout their mouth off before anything's done. So it happened. He walked away. We brought in Avram Grant. We got relegated. Well, we've got relegated under Martin O'Neill. I doubt it. Would we've done the same changes that Allardyce did to bring us back up to the Championship, back up into the playoff final the next season? Who knows? We can't say. So let's move on from that. With Sam Allardyce was a perfect acquisition for us. I remember going to pre-season friendly against Dagenham and Redbridge, where it was the first localish game. So he walked out, rapturous applause for the guys that were there, it wasn't the best game, but you know, it didn't matter. It was a pre-season friendly. It was Dagenham and Redbridge. We'd just been relegated. You know, it was. I didn't really care about that game, to be honest with you. It was nice to see who they were bringing in, and you know, our right back at that point, Joey O'Brien, played it really good. He really impressed me that day. I thought, yeah, good. We've finally got a decent right back. Boy, was I wrong. But Championship game, brilliant. Loved it. Loved every minute of it. Loved most of it. Not all of it, because horrible games. Being beaten 0-0 by Bristol City. As well, the Bristol City mate of mine likes to remind me about. You know, it was more games, so we felt like we got more value for money in that sense. Winston Reid, his goal against Millwall, he put the ball in the Pikey's net. You know, and that one game, personally, summed up that we had a brilliant centre-back in Winston Reid. He was really finding his feet in the Championship. And yeah, we were phenomenal. We were just, you know, it wasn't the best way to end the season, as everybody knows, because we had to go through the playoffs. Albeit the qualifying rounds for the playoffs was fantastic. But which comes round to my next point. What my favourite points of West Ham.